It's December 16th, 1993. You sit down on the couch, turn on MTV, and this is what you see. Over the course of the next hour, you watch a set unlike any other. This wasn't a normal MTV Unplugged. This was something different. This was Nirvana Unplugged. Kurt Cobain played a 14-song setlist that featured 6 covers and 5 songs from their older albums, Nevermind and Bleach. Only 3 of the 14 songs were from In Utero, the band's most recent album. At an event that usually acted as a promo for recent releases and massive hits, Nirvana played covers and less popular tunes from older albums. Of the 14 songs, the only major hits were Come As You Are, which peaked at number 32 on the charts, and All Apologies, which peaked even lower. Kurt and the band weren't looking for fame. They'd had enough of that. Their first song, About a Girl, is ostensibly about paying a prostitute just to have someone to talk to. It's a song about loneliness, and Kurt is opening the show with it. Kurt Cobain is leading off the show crying, "No one is there for me. Society doesn't want me. I have to pay people to talk to." At that same time, dozens of fans in the audience are worshipping their heroes. Nirvana never wanted to be famous. They just wanted to make music. Nowhere is that clearer than in the 4th song on the album, The Man Who Sold the World. Originally released by David Bowie, this song's open-ended lyrics could be interpreted many ways, but here they work best as an expression of concern. For Kurt Cobain, that concern is selling out. The lyrics speak about losing control and the death of the artist that Kurt used to be. Has rock culture consumed him? The stripped-down set with dozens of white lilies and candles strewn about the stage gives the impression of a funeral. Adding to that somber, reflective mood is Kurt's presentation. 10 or 20 years ago, a rock star as big as Kurt Cobain would have been dressed in flashy clothing and been prancing around the stage. Instead, Kurt wore a sweater and sat in an office chair. And it certainly wasn't that Nirvana couldn't put on a raucous show. They were used to doing that. But this was something different. Kurt's look and the stage both visually told the audience to expect a more somber tone, which suited songs like Pennyroyal Tea, a self-loathing song about using tea made from the pennyroyal plant, which has a potentially abortive effect and can be lethal. The song details many of the things that Kurt hates about himself, and makes a subtle reference to heroin, which Kurt used as a coping mechanism for chronic pain, both physical and emotional. After the band played several more Nirvana songs, some from In Utero, some from Nevermind, Kurt brought the Kirkwood brothers from the Meat Puppets on stage to play some of their songs. When the MTV execs brought Nirvana on to do Unplugged, they didn't want to hear songs from a completely underground band, but that's what Kurt wanted. To play what he wanted to play, not what society would like. The final song in this set, a cover of Where Did You Sleep Last Night, is an old American blues tune, specifically covered by Leadbelly, a blues man who died nearly 50 years before this show. No one thought that Kurt would end the MTV Unplugged set with a cover, let alone a blues song. In fact, when Nirvana played All Apologies right before, many audience members thought the concert was over. However, the performance is electrifying. The final chorus of the song, when Kurt hangs on to the word shiver, is unlike anything else. But why did Kurt even do any of this? Why go on a show notorious for being corporate just to play small hits, covers, and emotional singles? Why dress up the stage with flowers and candles? And why sit in an office chair, slumped over, with a sweater on? The answer is simple. Kurt never wanted to be famous. And he wanted to show the world that Nirvana wasn't going to be like the other big rock bands. Nirvana was going to play songs about prostitutes and heroin, cover songs about selling out, and they couldn't give a damn what you thought about it. When other bands were singing about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, Kurt Cobain was singing about how much he hated himself. He was playing songs by legends like David Bowie and Leadbelly in the same breath as underground acts like the Meat Puppets. In Kurt's eyes, the music is what mattered, not the fame. That's why Kurt played so many covers. That music was just as important to him as his own music was. The visual appearance of the stage drew in the audience, preparing them for a somber, reflective show, perfectly complementing the personal nature of the setlist. These were some of Kurt's favorite musicians, and songs of his that he liked, not what MTV wanted or what would get the most views or album sales. No one knew it at the time, but only a few months after the concert, Kurt Cobain would be dead. In April of 1994, the show took on a different meaning. The candles and flowers looked more like a funeral than they had before, and the laments started to sound like a cry for help, unheard by everyone. It wouldn't be fair to the show to only evaluate it with Kurt's suicide in mind, but it would be just as unfair to ignore it. As much as this show was about showing the world that Nirvana was something different, something more genuine, it was also a shout for help. To be freed from the corporate hellhole that rock music was in the wake of the hair bands. And the craziest thing was, it worked. Kurt died a few months later, but that show immortalized him in the eyes of the world, and he didn't have to sell out, even if he thought he had. Kurt Cobain was a sad, desperate genius that the world lost too soon, and if you or anyone you know can relate to Kurt's desperation, you aren't alone. I've linked a few resources in the description of this video. Please check them out. And before I go, I'll leave you with this: the final moments of Nirvana Unplugged.
My girl, don't lie to me. Tell me, where did you sleep last night? In the